Wow, what timing. So I'm not sure if you've seen or not, but Elektron has just released an update for the Digitakt and the Digitone a couple days ago. I had no idea this was happening, and I already had planned on doing this Digitakt video for a while now, so it's just funny that this comes out now. I've read through what it updates, really cool, awesome, totally down for a lot of this stuff, but it definitely doesn't change my opinion on the Digitakt. And I've had mine for over a year now, where I did my initial 5 Whys to Buy video, and that's also when YouTube captions decided to troll me pretty hard. But since then, I've definitely noticed a few things that I don't really like about it. And some I initially knew were already there. I was willing to take the hit on it. But some I didn't even realize would be an issue until after using it for a while. But yeah, let's go check it out. All right, so let's start with the big three for me. That's going to be no slicing, no time stretching, and no song mode. And this is a bit understandable. I can see Elektron not wanting to cannibalize the Octatrack, but honestly, I see such a stark difference between the two. Sure, there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of crossover with a lot of the Elektron products. They're really good at diversifying their stuff, but I don't see this taking up the Octatrack space, because a lot of what I rely on the Octatrack for are hardware things that this literally cannot get with a firmware update. For example, the 4 audio inputs, the 4 audio outputs, the crossfader, a lot of that stuff this just cannot do. All the live looping capabilities this can't do. So I'm hoping that outside of those, the other annoyances I find about the Digitakt can be fixed in a firmware update. And I know you just put that one out like a couple days ago, so I'll give you a week off, Elektron, and then you got to get back to work. So the Digitakt literally has no slicing at all, and I think I have it here. Yeah, so watch, check this out. There's a weird hacky way of doing slicing, which I find so annoying. It works, but you know, when you take a look at your wave, the transients and the waveform analyzer, whatever you want to call that thing, you can parameter lock the start point of the sample. Oh my god, this sounds so annoying. I was messing around with all the other firmware updates. So we're just listening to track 8. So if I go to my record here, I can hold down a step and set the start point. Right? Cool. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. So it does kind of slice, but it totally doesn't. And that's really annoying. The worst part about this is once you're in this waveform analyzer, at least I don't know how, I can't zoom in anymore to actually fine tune. So going from here to there, I don't know if I'm cutting a bit of the transient off. Of course, you use your ears. That's how you do it on the 404 and the 3000. But there's no, I don't know. It's like kind of just funky. It's like so close. It's right there. I wish I could just do something else to kind of go a little further in. And you can when you initially sample straight into it, right? And that also allows you to cut off, like truncate the start and the end point and create a new slice. Like ignore that, just save this thing. But you can't do that after you've done this. But at least with the new update, you can preview steps. So this is actually really handy. So if I hold down a step that has some sort of parameter locks on it and I hit yes, I can see what is going on with this step. So I'd be like, oh, no, let me go a little more. Oops, a little more. Cool. Maybe I like that. I can copy that. I'll paste that here. And then this one, I want it to be somewhere else, actually. Sure. Right, so you can kind of get around it with that thing, but there's no MPC style chopping, which is still the best, especially on the 4000 and probably all the newer ones. I haven't tried them yet. For example, the 4000, you set your start point, your end point, and you say between there and between there, make 8 or 16 or 32 or 9 perfectly spaced samples or slices, and then boom, you're good to go. And it's the same on the Octatrack where you do it with the grids or something like that. I forget what it's called. Time stretching is another one that I often hear from a lot of people, but personally me, I don't need time stretching that much. Maybe if I don't use it on this that much. I don't put long loops on here or anything like that, and I don't change the tempo within a loop that I would want it to do that. Maybe if it did have time stretching, I would take advantage of it. But a question I often get is, should I get a Digitakt or should I get the 1010 black box? And that is 1000% dependent on what your purpose for that product is. If you're just trying to like make tracks and have fun and just bang around on some box, I would go with this. The reason I use the black box though is my safety net when performing live, because it just pulls from the SD card. You can have long loops on there. It doesn't really matter how long they are. Here you could fill up your RAM really quick. And again, because the black box has time stretching, you can actually speed up or slow down the tempo. The time stretching on the black box is actually just okay. I'll probably explore that a bit more in a different video, but it's all right. I still end up trying to not change the tempo when performing live. But on here, there's literally no time stretching at all. If you want a solid, crazy good drum machine and simple sampler, this is really good. If you want, I don't know, backing tracks and loops and stuff to kind of bring a bit more, I don't know, a polished sound or some more fine-tuned percussion loops or something like that, I would definitely go with the black box. And last but not least, there's no song mode on the Digitakt. You barely have pattern chaining, and I kind of figured out this weird hacky song mode a while back in this video actually, and it's okay. It doesn't really work that well. It kind of gets the job done if you need it. I guess I could just show you really quick. Basically, if you have another pattern, let's just copy this pattern to here and I paste it there. So we have this pattern. I would make this pattern 2 steps and just completely clear it. So if I wanted to chain these, I do 8-bar patterns kind of thing. If I wanted to chain those, basically I just hold this down and say this one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. And then basically when I press play, it's going to start on 16 for 2 steps and then jump over to the rest of them. Oh man, did it not chain? Oh my God. Oh, there it goes. I don't know what I did the first time, but it worked now. So that's kind of like the weird hacky song mode. I talk about it a bit more in that video if you want to check it out. And yeah, song mode, I'm so used to it from the MPC line. Like, they are so awesome. I mainly make house and dance music. That's kind of my, you know, area that I like to hang out in. And on the MPCs, it's so nice to be able to see what you got going on 8 bars at a time, and then kind of seeing the total time, because most of my tracks are about 5 minutes 20 seconds. You give enough time for the DJ to mix in, then you kind of get to the meat and bones of the track, and then you give enough time for the DJ to mix out of the song. So being able to see it on those and just kind of get a mental visualization of what's going on is really cool. So this not having a song mode kind of sucks, and then the pattern chaining kind of sucks also, because when you start chaining patterns, you can keep going, but the screen doesn't scroll, so you don't even know where you're at, and then you're trying to hold that all mentally. So yeah, no song mode, kind of sucks. So if those 3 things don't bother you, this thing is really amazing and really fun and really powerful. I will admit though, I constantly put it away and don't use it for a while, and I'm trying to figure out why that is. Like, I just kind of put it away, and I mean, this is probably why I have too much stuff to begin with. But I guess another gripe I've noticed with it is I miss having velocity sensitive pads. I really miss that. It's fine, you can go and parameter lock stuff, but it just kind of enters in that programming music as opposed to making music, and you're just kind of jamming out. So no velocity sensitive pads, they're just the clicky buttons as you would expect. And yeah, but again, like, it's really good for everything else. And Elektron is so good at being annoying when trying to decide between which products to get, because you have the entry level with velocity sensitive pads but no direct sampling and only 6 tracks. You have middle ground, which is 8 tracks, direct sampling but no slicing, no velocity sensitivity. Then you have 2 higher end samplers that have analog components, no slicing, but velocity sensitive pads, or you can go with no velocity sensitive pads, but slicing and song mode and a bunch of other crazy cool things like the crossfader. It's just like, I just want one sampler that does it all. And honestly, there's a lot of competition for this thing, and I would suggest maybe the MPC 1 would be a good thing to kind of look at in comparison to this. I personally haven't tried it, but I have a billion MPCs, and if MPCs from 20 years ago can still blow things out of the water from today, I can only guess that that thing is awesome. I mean, we're not talking about the Renaissance or the MPC Touch or anything like that. They kind of came back around to doing more hardware standalone pieces, especially considering the force and all that stuff. So I would say maybe check out the one if you're looking for velocity sensitive pads and whatnot. But I mean, look at this thing. Look how sexy this thing looks. It looks awesome. And the last two things I want to mention about this are more on the MIDI sequencer side of things. And personally, I find Elektron's MIDI sequencers really annoying. And I know I'm probably going to get some heat for that, but just the way I work, they don't really work for me. So basically, there's 8 MIDI tracks of 4 notes of polyphony each, right? So each track can play up to 4 notes. And you know what? Let me set this up. All right, so I have the DT sending MIDI out into peak, and then in here I have monitoring set to yes, and what will be our source, let's just do external left and right. So the reason I chose peak is because it has these little active voices, so you'll be able to see what is going on. We'll go with this track here, track 1, 90 BPM. So hopefully this will work, because I still don't really know what's happening to cause this, but I think I kind of do. Basically, there's this. Track 1 is going to be chromatic mode. Let's just make a patch really quick. We'll do E piano. So let's say I wanted to add that, right? Even though I totally didn't add that on the one, we'll clear that. Duh, duh. Let's just do something simple. Well, that happens once in a while, which is annoying, but whatever. We'll take a hit on that one. So cool, we got this going on. Clearly 4 voices are playing, right? If I go and add some more notes on top of this, let's say we go up an octave. Cool, working good so far. But if I accidentally record longer than that other the first initial chord, it's gone. It's just straight Dr. Gonzo, erased from the history forever. Like, I get it though, because it's 4 notes of polyphony per, like, how do I explain this? So on a step, you can have 4 notes, and then those 4 notes need to be the same length. But if another note comes over on top of that one, it erases all 4 of those notes instead of just erasing one of them. But I think that's because of the way that the chords are set up. Like, if we'll erase these, right? And we'll play this again, and I'll play in a chord. So if I look at this note that's parameter locked to this, so that was entered in as transpositions to the root note of what I played, not necessarily entering in those notes independently. So they are always stuck to the root note. It's basically you're still playing one note with 3 other transposed notes attached to that one note. So I think somewhere in there it gets kind of weird. And this is just the way I like to play things in. So if I have this going, and then I just want to add some more, you know, let's say, then we'll do, but see, like, there goes my lead line. So it's weird because at times it's 4 notes. Sometimes it'll let you play up to 6 notes, but then once in a while it'll just erase everything. So in there is where I find my frustration with this thing. And here's another, I'm just going off on a rant at this point. Here's another thing that is a bit frustrating to me. So you're like, okay, everything's off of the root note and you're adding notes transposed off of that, right? So technically I should be able to play a chord mode if I just went ahead and didn't parameter lock nothing and just said, okay, let me add a 3, and then a 7th, and a 10th. Cool. So now every root note I play should add 3, 7, and 10, right? What the hell? That's weird. You want to know what's even weirder? What the hell? It's like so close. Like you almost had a chord mode. It's just not like on a soft through or whatever it might be called, to where you can't play it live, but once it's recorded into the sequence or added to the sequence and it's coming out of the sequence, that's when those parameters are applied to that note. And it still works the same with an external MIDI keyboard. Like if you were to just play notes on an external, it'll be one note at a time, but when it comes back around, it'll have all those notes added to it. So it's kind of weird and just kind of funky, but I mean, here's the thing. This is totally a first world problem. And another thing to mention is that I know I still have 7 other MIDI tracks that I can apply extra notes to on top. So if I really wanted, we can say, all right, track 1, we'll clear it, we'll do this, we'll go into chromatic mode. There's that weird thing again. So then if I go here, it's set to channel 1, same thing. Right, I can go to track 3, and then track 3, got to set this up to 1 again. Get some reggaeton up in here. So cool, I could do this, but now I'm dealing with 3 MIDI tracks and copying tracks, and where's the main chord progression? It just, again, enters into that world of just programming stuff rather than just playing stuff in. And like the MPCs have practically unlimited polyphony or something insane. I've never really hit their MIDI note polyphony. You can hit their voice polyphony, but not so much the MIDI note polyphony. So again, total first world problem. I'm sure a lot of the old heads are probably like, you know what I would have done to have an 8-track MIDI sequencer, even if they were mono. And another thing is I can't just jot this up as bad, because there's a ton of people that really enjoy the sequencer, and it's really fast. And I mean, you got probability, you got all the trig conditions, and even being able to just set what the CC value is on the face of the unit, right? What is this actually going to apply to? And then parameter lock CC notes to control your synthesizers. That's very rare on a lot of other things. But when it just, that stuff to me is, I don't want to say gimmicky, it's just stuff on top that I don't really need to make music. It's awesome, I appreciate it, thank you, but I don't need it to make a song. I will probably need it if I want to explore and just kind of find some new sounds and whatnot. So it's a really powerful MIDI sequencer, but I'm not sure if it's exactly what I would look for in a MIDI sequencer. I don't know if it's fully for me. So yeah, and I mean, another thing to note is Elektron just updated this a couple days ago. It's now what, the 11th of June 2020. So it's still clearly being very supported, and who knows if these things could be added in a later firmware. So like I said over a year ago, if you're looking for a really good solid drum machine, I still highly recommend this, especially if you're looking for like a simple sampler with, you know, direct sampling in, or I don't know, it's just really flexible. I probably recommend this thing more than anything next to circuits and Electribes, which I never tried, but tried the circuit's awesome. But this one, it just strikes a special chord in my heart. Even though I don't use it as often as I'd like to, for traveling it's really good. If you're making music in DAW and you want to step into the hardware world, this is great because it interfaces with Overbridge really well. But you know, there's still a lot of other competition and options besides just this. You got the Electribes, the MPC1, Deluge, OP1. I mean, there's a ton of options and more options coming out, you know, almost every other couple of months or whatever. But I'm done. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming by. How are you doing, by the way? You doing all right? Staying healthy? Yeah. Well, yeah, excited to see you in the next one. And until then, you already know the drill. Share the love, share the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Peace. Where are we at? Oh, this is ugly. Ew. Oh my God. You know what? No, not today. Peace.